Hi guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be looking at some of the macro photos I've been taking, a little bit of a look at the 100mm macro I've been using, which is the L 100mm macro, f2.8, and this is sort of a part one of a little bit of a series I said I'd do, where I'm talking about basically learning macro from scratch and sort of going through the challenges and everything that I've finding with it. And the process and the development of my photos in a macro format. So what we're going to do is we'll have a look at the lens, look at all the elements and everything like that make up this lens. Everything you're going to see when we get to that point has been taken on my 1DX Mark II. So that's your reference point, is a 1DX Mark II. Everything's been taken on when we show you through the photos. And then what I'll do is I'll show you through the photos I've taken. And I've basically done it in a format of, if the first few photos are stuff I've taken at the zoo, so they're not all actually macro up, but it's to show you can use a macro lens for normal photography too. And then a couple at the end are macro photos that I've taken in a sterile environment as we keep snakes in the house. So there'll be a couple of macro photos of snakes that I've taken, and then at the end we'll do an overview of how I think it's going so far and what the next steps are, and go from there. So let's crack on, have a look now at the lens. Okay guys, so this is the EF 100mm L macro. You've got your ET-73 lens cap on here. It's a humongous lens cap with a nice felt lining in there to dissipate lights when you're outside. Definitely worth having that on there. It will definitely make the photos a little bit less glary, but for this we'll remove that. You've got your traditional red ring on there. There's not actually that much on here. You've got your focus screen here, so you can tell what distance you're at. So if you've got a pre-measured distance, you can go manual focus, go right, I'm at 0.34 meters, boom, set, done. You've got your focusing ring here. You've got your distance limiter, so if you know you're going to be within these certain parameters, you can set those on there. You've got your AF to MF functionality there, and you've got your stability through there. You've also got this part here, which you can buy a lens collar, which I might actually do for this, just because I'm going to try with the tripod. So I'm going to potentially buy one of those and put them on here for sure. You've got on the front a 67mm filter thread with that very nice, pretty small but obviously incredibly sharp front element on here. The weight of the lens itself is 625 grams. It has got weather resistance on the back, which is any L lens will have that, but you've got this rubber ring here to stop any moisture and stuff coming through on there. It's got 15 elements in 12 groups, and its magnification rating is a 1:1. So you obviously have the 65mm macro lens that Canon make, which goes down to ×5, which I'd love to try at some point, but I really want to learn on this first, and then maybe at some point go up into the next one, up into that 65mm if I do enjoy it a bit more and play with that as well. So that's the elements and everything that goes into this lens itself. Let's look at some of the photos now and get into that. Okay, so the first photo we're going to look at here is of a male Amur leopard walking towards me. So it's a shot through glass. You can see a little bit of glare from the glass on the left hand side of the leopard itself, but actually looking at the face part of it, absolutely beautiful, super sharp on the eyes. The only issue with this photo I can see is there's something really weird going on the back of the leopard, so it looks like it's almost like cut out and sort of superimposed into the photo, but not sure why that's kind of come. There must be something to do with the glass maybe, it's had an effect on there, but sharpness itself is absolutely spot on and how I'd expect it to be with this sort of lens. Okay, so the next photo here we've got of a fire skink burrowed down, sort of just sticking his head out here, again through glass, but he's shooting at 2.8. We've got an amazing depth of field here, so the rocks and stuff that are in the foreground completely blown out and blurred out, and then just behind the fire skink's head is also nicely blurred out there, so drawing your eye straight away to the little fire skink in his little burrow he's made there. Now, so these next two, this is the last two we're going to look at. These are the snakes in the controlled environment. So this first one is one shot, purely f2.8 manual focus on the eye, and as you can see, any part of the snake that's slightly out of a line with the eye is starting to blur out until it's basically, if it's part of the body especially, it just merges into the background, which is this green leaf. So you've got to be super careful when you're shooting such shallow depth of field that you make sure you get that shot on straight away. I took about 50 photos to get this one. Everyone before this was either slightly on the scale to the left of the eye, or on his nose, or on the mouth part there. So it is super important that you do concentrate, and this is all down to that focus, my focus breathing almost really. I breathe a little bit and totally take the shot out of focus. So I will be trying a tripod moving forward just to make sure I can get those photos more accurate and less wastage in the photos I take, for sure. And this photo, second photo here, is the same snake, almost in the same. It moved slightly before I took this photo, but then settled down again. But this is 30 stacked photos. So I've taken photos of the eye, scales behind, nose, everything like that. 30 photos, put them into Photoshop and then stack them. This is my first ever attempt at stacking, so there's a little bit I would change about it. Obviously the glass that is taken through, there's a bit of dirt in there which has kind of come into focus now that I've stacked the photos through, but it's my first practice at stacking in macro. I've stacked before in the moon photos and stuff like that I've done before, but not as a macro, and definitely something I need to improve on and practice a bit more. So if you guys want to see how to stack a photo, I'm more than happy to do a video of that, showing you how to focus stack. And when I get the tripod, everything's sorted out, I will be doing a lot more of this kind of photo stacking sort of behavior to see what sort of sharpness we get, because if you zoom in on this photo, the sharpness is absolutely incredible throughout. There's a little bit of blur where I've missed focus on one of the stacks, potentially around the nose, but overall the photo is nice and sharp, nice and crisp, and it will be good to get a sort of better background and foreground and do a focus stack and see what the photo quality comes out from there. So guys, so that's everything that we have been doing with the macro lens. This and the photos obviously you've seen. How I think I'm going so far, I think it's definitely a massive learning curve. The fact that you're shooting most of the time when you're in a sterile environment taking photos, you're shooting in manual focus. At the zoo you're shooting in autofocus. But when you're in manual focus and you breathe, obviously you're shooting in such a shallow depth of field that it takes the focus point out every time you breathe. So you're almost having to do a sniper style, hold your breath, take the photo. What I'm probably going to try next is use tripod. I'm going to get a shutter release for the 1DX Mark II, and I'm going to use that and see if that makes a big difference on being able to get that sort of different depths of field. I'm also going to be working a lot more on stacking, and if you'd want to see a photo of how to stack, I can definitely include a video of that as well, of how to do stacking of photos. So we'll look at that for sure as well if you guys want to see it. I also want to hear about what you guys are doing with macro. If you're watching this video, have you bought yourself a macro lens? What sort of photos have you taken? By all means, put links to your social media in the comments and I'll have a look at them, and maybe we can follow you as well. Have a look at my social media for the photos that I've been taking with the macro lens, with the 500mm, the 300mm, everything. You can kind of see sort of the quality of photos I'm getting from that. And from there, we'll see you in the next episode. And please comment, subscribe as you always do, and I will see you later on. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.